Hi, I'm Jay Height from Shepherd Community, and I'm here in the beautiful chapel of Second Presbyterian Church here in Indianapolis. And I think of these great churches of our city and of our world who've had such profound impact into the world for decades. During COVID, we all got mad because government declared the church non-essential. Oh, that made us mad. But what I fear, we earned that. I fear that maybe we've lost our saltiness. In Matthew 5, the Sermon on the Mount, the sermon that we all need to understand the radical nature of what it was to say to this group of followers, this is how you live. And in it, he says, you are to be salt. And if you've lost your saltiness, you're good for nothing but to be cast out and stepped on. I sure hope we never reach the point where folks just cast us out and walk on us because we're useless. So the question for me is, how is it that we can regain the saltiness? Well, one, we have to understand that when Jesus says you are the salt, he's saying you're one of the most important things. You're one of the greatest values. In that day, Roman soldiers were paid with salt. It was a currency. You would use it to barter. You would carry a little pouch around with you, and you would be paid your pound of salt. You were worth that. And so he says, you're so important. And the question is, do we believe that? Do we believe as Christ followers, we are essential and bring such a tremendous value? I want to look at just some of the ways salt is used. It's interesting to me. I am 59 years old, and I grew up at a time where my grandmother was convinced that Vicks 44 fixed everything. I have asthma, and so I can remember the days where we were putting Vicks on my chest and on my neck and on my feet. Still don't understand why on the feet. And then she would take a wash rag with a needle, a pin, and pin it to my neck for me to sleep, as if putting this huge needle right next to my carotid was a good idea, but somehow maybe they were trying to kill me, I don't know. But you would go to bed and put the covers over and said, that's going to help you. And I'm convinced if my grandmother was still alive during COVID, she would have thought Vicks 44 took care of COVID. Everything was about Vicks 44. And then, I don't know, I'm the youngest of three boys. We would cut one of our arms or legs off, but we would never tell our mom or our grandma because they had mercurochrome. If you've never experienced mercurochrome, it makes fat guys like me run fast. It burns so bad, and so these things that we had to take care of our cuts and bruises, maybe you remember, Mom, I've got a sore throat. Go gargle with warm salt water. Salt, it is a healing agent, but in the healing, maybe it makes you a little uncomfortable. Maybe it hurts. Maybe it's more than just uncomfortable. Maybe it's pain. And so I wonder this. Are we too worried about making people uncomfortable that we've lost our saltiness? The healing that the world needs is Jesus Christ, and we can bring that to their lives when we live a life being salt. It's a healing agent. Salt has another ingredient. Many months ago, it was in January, I was in Florida teaching at a church, and I said, salt makes dangerous situations safe. They said, what do you mean? I said, well, we get this thing called snow and ice in the Midwest, and what do? We put salt on the streets and on the sidewalks and on our driveways. They probably don't understand that quite so much there in Florida, but we do here in the Midwest, right? It makes that icy situation, it breaks it down. It makes it safe. And I will say this, I recently had breakfast with our police chief, and I reiterated this to him. The church makes the city and whatever community the church is in safe for the law enforcement. It's not the other way around. We can change behavior with the hope of Jesus Christ. We instill hope. They corral behavior and do a valiant job. But we're called to make dangerous situations safe. Salt. Well, one time my wife and I were in Williamsburg, in colonial Williamsburg, and we saw them working on a ham. And if you've ever seen them preserve meat, it's a long process. You don't sit there and go, whoo, let me put a little bit of salt on there. No, you are caking it on and you rub it because there can't be any area exposed or it'll rot the whole piece of meat. You have to cake that and work that. And I want you to know we have to work our communities. Just like with making dangerous situations safe, we can't from the church store chuck the salt out and think we're going to get all of our communities safe. We have to go out into the communities. It is the same thing. We have to engage and work with our neighbors and with our families. Every kid will be mentored. The question's by who? Many years ago, my son is now a missionary in Croatia, and at the time he was 5 or 6, wanted to play Little League here in Indianapolis. And I thought it was great. I love baseball. You know why I love baseball is because you don't have to run a lot. And I could run 90 feet, stop, catch my breath. I was good. But he wanted to play, and I had played baseball all growing up. And I'm from Ohio, so my team was going to be the Reds. And they said, we need team sponsors. So I started going around to churches in the community, and they said, no, our kids don't play there. And I said, well, they are your kids. They just not come to your church yet. 2/3 of the teams were sponsored by local bars. And one of the teams was coached by a local motorcycle gang. And I'm going to tell you, those kids had all new cleats, new gloves, new bats. They had their own little bag to carry their bat and glove in. And here's 5, 6, 7-year-olds having the best of everything because that gang, they invested in their lives. Every time we played them, I would tell our kids, we lose tonight. I don't want to tick off the motorcycle gang. No, I didn't do that. But they were out working the church. They understood what it was to preserve is engaging with. It doesn't happen from the confines of our pews or of our chairs. It's us getting out and engaging in their lives where they are, in the market, in the business place, in the schools. It is for us to preserve. Now, I'm speaking to you from Indianapolis, and I'm a Midwest guy. And one of my favorite things in the summer growing up, we would go to Southwest Indiana, where my mother was from, and we would fill up our car with watermelons and cantaloupes. And we would slice them, and what'd you do? You put salt on them. Salt really has very little flavor. What it does is it enhances the flavor of what you put it on. Oh, I love a good piece of watermelon with some salt on it. And I wonder this, what is your life enhancing? If someone says, oh, hey, Jay, every time I'm around you, Jay, you're always worrying about this. Oh, Jay, why are you such an Eeyore? It's a beautiful day, yeah, but it's probably going to rain tomorrow. Salt. What is it that your life enhances? Does it make people thirsty for Jesus? Does it say there's something different about her. There's something different about him. What does your life enhance? Oh, that's part of being salt. I teach a couple cohorts in Africa, and this pastor, he says, Pastor, you may not know, it gets really hot here. And I said, I know that. And he says, we wear dress shirts all the time. And he said, sometimes we sweat a lot and we stain our shirts. And what we do with salt is we put it in the wash with the shirt, and it gets the stain out. It restores the color. Wow. That's really being salt. We have people, it's just like in my house, here in the inner city where I live, there's just a small little enclave of homes that we're on a well, and we have hard water. It's got lots of iron in it, so we have a water softener, and we put salt in it. That water really is not usable until it goes through that water softener, but the salt makes it usable. The salt restores the color. It takes the stains out. And ultimately, that's what it is to be salt in the world. We're removing stains. We're taking people who believe that no one could ever love me, that no one would ever want to be part of my life. No one. If they really knew me, they wouldn't want me to come to this church. They wouldn't want me to be in their Bible study. And Jesus says, be salt. So we say, you know what? God can use you. Oh, we all have scars, right? We all have scars. They don't define us, but they do help write our story. And the salt is there to say, you know what? What Satan has chosen to destroy your life, God can redeem when we're the salt. Will you be the salt?